This week, Myrtle Beach downtown redevelopment hit a snag as the Downtown Alliance notified the public through a press release that the head of the alliance stepped down, is moving in a different direction. These problems with the Downtown Alliance and the city of Myrtle Beach and the Chamber of Commerce, the snags, and the major investment of $30 million are ongoing for this community. And should you care? I mean, should Horry County care? Should the city of Myrtle Beach even care? Should residents in Grand Dunes care? Those are questions that have been put before us. And my answer would be yes, I think we should care. Last night, my wife and I watched what probably is the last anthem on the baby boomer generation. This 1970s Jesus revolution happened at a time when the baby boomers and Myrtle Beach were both in their prime, the early 70s, the late 60s. This was a time when baby boomers were figuring out who they were, and they loved Myrtle Beach. We had a downtown pavilion that was just thriving. Myrtle Beach was investing. Young people were coming in, and other people were looking at opportunities up and down the Grand Strand. Today, in 2023, 5,000 baby boomers die every day. Every single day, we lose 5,000 baby boomers. What does that mean for us? Well, let me just show you what I've put together. You can decide for yourself if this is real or if this is just David Huck's. Let me just play you a small clip from this movie.
Jeanette tells me you're a pastor.
Yes. Currently.
I know we must seem pretty strange. But if you look a little deeper, if you look with love, you'll see a bunch of kids that are searching for all the right things, just in all the wrong places. So to answer your question, how do I describe my people? They're sheep without a shepherd, chasing hard after lies. And the trouble is, your people reject them. So I ask you, Pastor, how can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? We can only walk through doors open to us. And your church, well, that's a door that's shut.
We can only walk through doors that are open to us. And your door, that's a door that's shut. Those are powerful, powerful words. So what does a reformation, a revolution, have to do with the city of Myrtle Beach and downtown redevelopment? I was growing up in Gallivant's Ferry when this revolution happened, and our church was very afraid of the hippies. They needed to take a bath, was what we believed. We were not inclusive. If you look at most traditional churches today, the church pews are pretty much empty, and everyone in the congregation is like this gentleman here, a white top, completely gray. Why? We refused to embrace a people that were searching and looking for an opportunity, a real opportunity to find life. Anything that's alive does three things. Number one, it grows. It's growing. Number two, it's taking in new things all the time, nourishment. And number three, it's getting rid of waste. Those are three things you can determine about anything that is absolutely alive. It does those three things. Take a look at this group here. I'm not knocking these people. Look at these people. I know most of these people. This is the board of One Grand Strand. This is the board that's responsible for running this redevelopment program with the help of a few tax dollars. You've got Michael Clayton. He's my age or a little older. You've got Jim Apple, my age. Lawton Benton, my age. Clay Britton III, just a couple of years older than me. David DeCenza, former head of Coastal, probably late 60s, early 70s. Probably the youngest member is Karen Reardon, who is, I don't know, I don't want to, she's probably late 50s, maybe early 60s. I'm not sure. Certainly don't want to upset her. But do you see how old this group is? Not a single young person on their board. And yet they desire, with all they are, to change this into something young, fresh, and new. And they've absolutely got no diversity and no inclusion on their board. How is that possible? How can you invite something new into something that's not new? Old, cultured. The culture in Myrtle Beach, the culture, the non-inclusive culture. But David, they're wanting to bring in the gay community. They're doing all of these things with the transgender ideas and well, here's the problem. They are all of the same mindset. It has nothing to do with true diversity. True diversity is bringing in people who have capitalistic ideas, as well as people who have big business ideas, as well as people who are young upstarts, bringing in young minds. If you put the right people on the One Grand Strand board, if you put the right people on the chamber board, the first thing you're going to have is conflict. And that's a great thing. Conflict is the bridge to unity. My company has invested millions and millions of dollars into our product, into Myrtle Beach. Why? We kept hoping and still continue to hope that this thing will bottom out and that we'll be going up again. I made that because it was a financial decision. I felt it was prudent for me. I felt if I invested now, I would get a return at some point down the road. But that can't happen. That cannot happen as long as the cultural mindset that's currently going on continues. And I'll explain to you what I mean. Take a look at this gentleman right here. This is a man named Adam Morgan. Adam Morgan wants to bring a youthful mindset to Horry County. He's from Greenville. We have investors in Greenville that have kind of kicked the tires around here. But the Freedom Caucus is not welcomed. He's young, he's energetic, he's bright. They have some really sharp ideas. But not only are they not welcome in Horry County, they're not welcome in several areas along the coast that don't really like having a diversity of thought. You see, Adam brings a different mindset to the problem. Now, the same people that are raising Cain and trying to block and tackle and keep the Freedom Caucus out of Horry County are the same people that raised absolute Cain, screamed bloody murder when we offered to make an endowment at Coastal. Believe it or not, some of the very people I'm talking about, they absolutely, positively did not want us making an endowment to Coastal. Why? Why do you ask? Because they're culturally stuck in an old paradigm. To get new, you've got to be willing to embrace new. And let me say this, the hardest part of learning, and I'm talking to my friends now who are on these boards, the toughest part of learning is unlearning. That saddens me. It's real. Unless you're willing to unlearn some things that you're cultured into, unless you're willing to embrace inclusion of the residents of Horry County, of the residents of the state, unless you're willing to play an inclusion game that means all of those around you, true inclusion, not just in namesake only, unless you're willing to deal with the controversy and the conflict and the problems that inclusion are going to create, because they don't think like you do. And that's a good thing, because by coming together and having that conflict, we'll get better unity and you'll get unstuck. Whether or not you choose to get unstuck is your choice. The Jesus Revolution happened despite my little church. It only happened with a fragment of California and a fragment of America, but it happened. It was a powerful thing going on in the early 70s, and my church missed the moment. Why? Because we were stuck. We did not understand that inclusion was the way forward. Now, I am selfishly not saying this on my behalf. The chamber and the powers that be in Myrtle Beach can stay exclusionary. They can build up their little wall and have their own little groupthink and live in their own little bubble. But if you want out, you can be out today. Our arms are extended. We'd be glad to help you bring others to this equation. Or we'll sit on the sidelines and give you 15, 20 more years. As to the children of Israel who left Egypt, they did not enter the promised land. Only 2 entered. The rest died in the wilderness. And the Bible says that they died because they refused to embrace anything other than a slave mindset. They saw themselves as slaves. We've all recently gotten a belly full of this guy. This guy was one of the most powerful men in the state. He gave to the campaigns of Henry McMaster, Luke Rankin, before he died, Hugh Leatherman. I mean, you name it, Alan Wilson. This was one of the key contributors to political campaigns. Hampton was stuck with this family and their mindset, their privilege, and their culture. 3 generations of them. I hope Myrtle Beach will get unstuck. And for selfish reasons, I hope they get unstuck soon. We don't want another turnover in leadership in the Downtown Redevelopment Alliance, nor in the One Grand Strand. But the propaganda that was put out by one local TV station this week is not helpful. It's just not helpful. We need to get real with this thing. We need to realize we have some problems like homelessness, but mostly what we have a problem with is we refuse to be inclusive. We only want our tribe at the table. That will never work for you, City of Myrtle Beach. Something to think on. It's your problem. You think on it. We'll continue to report the news. By the way, speaking of which, we're going to a video format. We're going to reach 1.28 million people per stream, and we're going to reach 28 million people through all of our streams worldwide. Why? Because Myrtle Beach has never reached its potential, and it's doggone time it started. Thanks for listening to us and hearing us out. Well, we look forward to reporting you with just the news soon.